All right, we're on the study guide. We're on number 25 today. We're going to try to get 13 problems done. So, yeah, if you take a look at number 25, you got a picture of two triangles there. Looks something like this. And you are told that these angles up top are congruent. You are asked, what other information do you need in order to prove the triangle is congruent by SAS? And SAS is the acronym for side, angle, side. So you need a side, an angle, and a side. Now, the angle is in between the two S's, or the A is in between the two S's, which means that the congruent angles need to be in between the congruent sides. So side AC is in both triangles. So you've got a side, an angle, and you need another side to be congruent to a side, angle, and another side. So the other information that you would need in this case would be that AB is congruent to AD. These two sides with the two tick marks on them would have to be congruent to each other to use side, angle, side. All right, number 26. In number 26, Q is equidistant from the sides of TSR. Find the value of x. If Q is the same distance from both sides of that angle, then that means it's on an angle bisector. If it's on the angle bisector, it means that 2x plus 22 is equal to 34. So you can subtract 22 from each side, and 2x would be equal to 12, and divide each side by 2. X is equal to 6. Turn that down. Number 27, find the value of x for which L is parallel to M. The two angles that are given, or the two angles that are represented in that diagram, they are equal to each other. And your picture kind of looks like this. This would represent a transversal. For L to be parallel to M, all right, 2x minus 14 would have to be equal to 38. Those would be alternate interior angles. So 2x minus 14 equals 38. You can add 14 to each side. 2x is going to equal 52. And divide both sides by 2. X equals 26. In number 28, these top angles are congruent. The left side is congruent to the right side. This is angle Y, X, and 62 degrees. You're asked to find the value of X and the value of Y. All right, this big triangle around the outside, triangle ABC, is an isosceles triangle. So if this angle down here is equal to 62 degrees, then angle B is equal to 62 degrees. So if you take 180 and you subtract 62 and you subtract 62 again, you're left with 56 degrees, which means in this triangle ABC, this top angle up here is equal to 56 degrees. And if these two angles are equal to each other, then you take 56 and divide it by 2. And when you do that, you get 28 degrees for angle Y. So now you've got another smaller triangle right here, triangle ABD. So if you take 180 and you subtract 28 and then you subtract 62, it will give you the value of x. So $90 degrees. 90 degrees. So y is equal to 28 and x is equal to 90. Number 29 asks for the measures of angle ABD. So the measure of angle ABD. In that case, ABD, ray AB is sitting on 0 on the protractor, and ray BD is sitting at about 16. Alright, so ABD would be equal to 16 degrees. And then they want the measure of angle DBG. So DBG, so you need ray BD is at 16. Alright, so you're going to take ray BD, which is at 16, and ray BG is at 125. So you're going to take, in this case, you're going to take the 125 and you're going to subtract 16 from it. Alright, this is ray BG, and this is where ray BD, that's their locations on the protractor. So when you find the difference between their measurements on the protractor, it'll give you the measure of angle DBG. So 125 minus 16 is 109. Number 30 talks about 3 security cameras in a triangular parking lot. So you've got camera number 1, 2, and 3. Camera 1 was 108 feet from camera 2. So this side is 108, which was 130 feet from camera 3. So 130 right here. Cameras 1 and 3 were 149 apart. Which camera has to cover the greatest angle? Alright, the camera that's opposite the longest side has to cover the greatest angle. So this right here would be your largest angle, so that would be camera 2. Number 31. BD bisects ABC. So if this is angle ABC, and BD bisects that angle. The measure of ABC, the entire angle, is equal to 7x. So this entire angle right here is 7x degrees. The measure of ABD is 3x plus 13. All right, so here's the deal. If BD bisects the big angle, then these two angles are equal to each other, which means that angle DBC is 3x plus 13. So these two angles added together have to equal 7x. So if you combine these two angles, you're going to get 6x plus 26 equals 7x. And if you subtract 6x from each side, then 26 is equal to x. Number 32. You're told that R is parallel to T. So this is R and T. They're parallel to each other. That makes the diagonal transversal. Find the measure of angle 6. So 6 is right here, and this is 148. All right, so in this picture, all right, these two angles are a linear pair. So if you take 180 minus 48 minus 148, then this angle is 32 degrees. Yes?
Isn't there like a simpler way of doing that? Like just like following the angles by into your next three, like all the way down?
You can, if you know one angle and the two lines are parallel, you can do all the angles. I mean, the process would be that, you know, if this first angle is 148, it's a vertical angle with this, and it's 148. These two are alternate interiors, so this is 148, which means that this is 148. Okay? If this angle is 32, it corresponds to angle 6. So angle 6 is equal to 32 degrees. So there's 3 or 4 different ways to find angle 6. But in this picture, when you've got two lines parallel to each other and you've got one transversal, every angle, and there's 8 angles in this picture, every one of the 8 angles is either going to measure 148 or 32. So, I mean, really, all the obtuse ones are 148, and all the acute ones are 32. Number 33. Got points E, F, and G. E to G is 25. So from here to here is 25 units. Point F is 2/5 of the way between E and G. So this is 2/5 of this entire distance. Find the value of FG. So F to G is equal to, all right, look, if F is 2/5 of the way to G, then from F to G would have to be 3/5 of the entire distance. Okay? Because 2/5 plus 3/5 equals 5/5, which is the entire distance. So if you take 25 and you divide it by 5, it's equal to 5. That means that each 1/5 of this segment is equal to 5. So if this piece is 2/5, then it's 10. And f to g is 3/5, so it would have to be 15. So f to g is equal to 15. Number 34. In the triangle on the left, you got a 38 and a 64 degrees. And you've got x, z, and y. And you've got one more 17-degree angle. All right, so angle x, if you take 180 and you subtract 38 and then you subtract 64, that would give you angle x. So 180 minus 38 minus 64 is 78 degrees. So angle x is equal to 78 degrees. Angle x and angle z are vertical angles. So if you take 180 and you subtract 78, it'll give you the measure of angle z, which is 102 degrees. So this angle right here is 102. And now you've got this triangle on the right that the angles need to sum 180. So for the triangle on the right, if you take 180 and subtract 17 and then subtract 102, it'll give you angle y. That's 61 degrees. Each of the triangles need to sum 180, so just do them one variable at a time. Number 35, what is the value of x? Those two angles are vertical angles. They're congruent to each other, so 7x minus 2 is equal to 6x plus 14. If you subtract 6x from each side, then x minus 2 is going to equal 14. And you can add 2 to each side. So x equals 16. Number 36. It says that R, S, and T are the vertices of one triangle. So R, S, T. E, F, and D are the vertices of another triangle. E, F, and D. The measure of R is 70. The measure of S is 80. The measure of F is 70. The measure of D is 30. RS equals 4. E to F equals 4. Are the two triangles congruent? If yes, explain and tell which segment is congruent to RT. Which segment is congruent to RT, which is right here. All right, in this triangle on the left, if you take 180 and you subtract 80 and 70, you're left with 30 degrees. Triangle on the right, if you take 180 and subtract 70 and 30, you're left with 80 degrees. So the triangles are congruent. They've got all the same angle measures, and they've got two sides that are congruent to each other. So you're looking for the, so yes, they're congruent. Which segment is congruent to RT? RT is touching the 30 and the 70-degree angle. So the side that's touching the 30 and the 70-degree angle is going to be, if they call this one, what did they call it? RT. So they go from the 70 to the 30. So you got to go from the 70 to the 30. So correct, that's FD. Angle, side, angle, exactly. That's angle, side, angle. And number 37. The expressions in the figure below represent the measures of two angles. Find the value of x. F is parallel to G. In that picture, if F is parallel to G, then 9x and 5x plus 40, those are same side interiors. Same side interiors are supplementary. So 9x plus 5x plus 40. That's going to be equal to 180. Alright, they're supplementary. They sum 180. So 14x plus 40 equals 180. Subtract 40 from each side. (14x) equals 140. And then divide each side by 14. X is equal to 10. And that's all I got for today. Problems. Yep. I'll do problems 38 through 50 tomorrow.